Ooh la la, I can feel it in the air tonight. Voulez-vous coucher avec moi? Omar Sy stars in Netflix's French Lover. Is he gonna kiss the girl? When a jaded actor meets a down-on-her-luck waitress in Paris, their unexpected love story begins. But will it survive the glare of the spotlight? So if you're familiar with my channel, you know I have a fairly low bar when it comes to romance and rom-com movies. To rise above mediocrity, I'm looking for something that feels fresh, portrays excellent character chemistry, and ideally has a fairy tale ending. Not that it has to, but that certainly does bump up a story for me. Here we have Omar Sy and Sarah Giraudoux, I believe that's how you pronounce her last name, as Abel and Marion. Their characters are wildly unmatched when it comes to celebrity and status. Abel is a movie star. Marion is a chef. But what makes their dynamic different than what you may expect from this pairing is Marion isn't impressed or even care about Abel's public draw. When they first meet, it's a bitingly funny exchange that works to illustrate how Marion sees everyone as people and just how they are, rather than how a facade persona is propped up for media. Now, the duo is fun together. Abel is an easy character to enjoy, even though he does come with some drawbacks like selfishness and arrogance. The self-absorbed nature can be grating and frustrating, but it allows room for character growth, which I think could have been explored way more than it is. They use a time shift montage to showcase how the character deals with disappointment and regret, which then leads to self-reflection that brings about change. And with Marion, she's a firecracker of a person. While she's gentle and soft-spoken, she's also at a point in life that she calls it as she sees it and doesn't let crap slide. This sets up the predictable tension for the tale, because we all know that in a romance story, everything typically starts out all rainbows and butterflies before a shoe drops and one or both in the relationship figure out that the other can be an intolerable ogre. Now, the clash that eventually comes here, it's expected, and while the emotions are realistic and not overblown for drama's sake, the conflict does seem to come on more suddenly and abruptly. And this conflict, unlike many rom-coms and just straight-up romance stories, plays out longer, even more sadly than I thought it would. This lengthened strife made the relationship more palpable and real, creating sequences that feel relatable and weighty. While it's not wholly enjoyable to see two people's relationship break down in front of you, this produced a powerful emotional response, making me empathize with them and become angry at some selfish decisions. The banter that exists between Sy and Giraudoux is quick and natural, creating the illusion that they actually could have a relationship in real life and then use that in their performance. There's a sweetness that they both exude, mainly in their eyes, and the looks are inviting and infectious, hungry for each other like they can't go a minute without being in the other's presence. And having chemistry between the leads, that's expected. But this exceeds the norm and builds a pairing that I was drawn to. I wanted to see them together, which is what a romance story should invoke. Now, the entire film, I think it's longer than you might expect. It's just over 2 hours. And thanks to extended sequences of both the courtship and then the conflict, while they are effective, they also make the time feel longer. There are a few scenes that created some tiny story tension, but ultimately they don't add anything to the overall plot because they're inconsequential. The narrative would still play out exactly as it does with the same types of emotional responses and story progressions, even if these areas are removed. There's this whole segment that focuses on Abel before he gets with Marion, and what's intended for the story, it does make sense, but it's just added time that doesn't increase character or story value. And there are other scenes that play out longer than needed, but also dwell on situations that could be condensed without sacrificing meaning or impact. Sometimes these do add some humor, but typically they're long, but not in the way that's needed, focusing on the unfunny section rather than leaning in to fully exploit a humorous moment. Marion's sister and brother-in-law, they create levity, especially when Abel is the focus of their discussion. But the plug gets pulled prematurely, which then eases off of the funny moment, essentially just neutering the comedy that enhances the entire storyline. And I know these are nitpicks, but each of them contributes to the extended time that's either not needed or used ineffectively. I don't think that this is a massive detriment to the movie as a whole, because it still provides a cute and lovable couple, character interactions that are both sweet and honest, and then a storyline that's predictable but still comes across as novel and fresh because of the unique dynamic that's shared between the leads. This isn't the cutesy, lovey-dovey, everything is perfect all the time relationship, mean, yeah, there is a bunch of tender and endearing moments that make you fall in love with Marion and Evel, but their friction, it's relatable without being cruel, increasing the apprehension while not feeling hopeless. Omar Sy and Sarah Guiraudot are wonderful together, building engaging situations that mirror life's joys and sorrows without becoming so dark or angry that they overshadow the optimism of the story. This has some rewatchability to it, but it's not one that I'd want to have in my regular rotation of romantic stories. There's a little sex, no nudity, some profanity, then no violence. I give French Lover 3.5 out of 5 couches. Okay, so what's the most impactful love story that you've watched, movie or series, within the last few months? I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.